Aspire to a clean career, leaving no shame for descendants. Hello everyone. Welcome to Encountering Chinese Case Stories, Cases Judged by Bao Gong. Today, I'm going to bring you a story called Old Fisherman at the Port. In the city of Yangzhou, there was a man named Zhang Qi, who was more commonly known as Tianxiu. Tianxiu's family was very wealthy, and he enjoyed doing good deeds. One day, an old monk came to Tianxiu's house to beg for alms. Tianxiu received him very politely. After eating the vegetarian meal, the old monk said, "I am originally from Shaanxi, and later, I shaved my head and became a monk at the Baoan Temple in Dongjing. Currently, the east hall of the temple is missing an arhat statue. I heard that you are a benevolent person, so I traveled 1,000 miles to seek your help." Tianxiu replied, "This is a small matter, and I cannot refuse." With that, he immediately asked his page to go inside and tell his wife, Zhang, to take 50 taels of silver and give it to the monk. The old monk saw the silver and said with a smile, "I don't need so much money, half of it is enough to make an arhat statue." "Why give so much?" Tianxiu responded, "Master, please don't think it's too little. If there is any surplus after making the arhat statue, you can use it for other good deeds to help those in need." Seeing Tianxiu's willingness to donate, the monk no longer declined and accepted the silver, then left after saying goodbye. After leaving, the old monk thought to himself, "Just now, I noticed a sign of death under the benefactor's eyes. I fear he may face a great disaster this year. As such a kind person, I must warn him." With this in mind, the old monk returned to Zhang's house and met Tianxiu again. He said, "I know a little about divination and prediction. From your appearance, I fear you may face a great disaster this year. Please be very careful and stay at home if possible to avoid calamity." After repeatedly warning Tianxiu, the monk left. Tianxiu went to the backyard and scoffed to Zhang. "The monk who begged for alms said I would have a great disaster this year. How ridiculous." Zhang replied, "I think the monk, who has traveled widely and seen much, might be right. You should be cautious." A few days later, during the flower festival, Tianxiu invited his wife to the back garden to enjoy the flowers. They happened to encounter a servant named Dong and a maid named Xuanxiang flirting in the flower pavilion. Dong was known for his dissolute behavior. Seeing this, Tianxiu became very angry and scolded them. Unexpectedly, Dong held a grudge against him for this. A month later, Tianxiu's cousin, Huang Mei, who worked as a commissioner in Dongjing, wrote to invite Tianxiu to visit him. Upon receiving the letter, Tianxiu said to Zhang, "I want to visit my cousin." Zhang replied, "A few days ago, the old monk who came begging for alms said you would face a great disaster. You shouldn't travel far. Besides, our son is still young. Even if you don't go, your cousin won't blame you." Tianxiu ignored his wife's advice and instructed the servant Dong to pack their luggage. The next day, he bid farewell to his wife and set off, instructing her to wait for his return. Tianxiu, Dong, and the page traveled for several days by land and eventually reached the river's mouth, where they needed to continue by water. Tianxiu hired a boat to cross the river. By then, it was already late, and the boat docked in a narrow bay for the night. The boat had 2 boatmen, one named Shen and the other named Wang, both of dubious character. Dong still harbored a grudge against Tianxiu for the scolding he received a few days earlier. At night, Dong secretly conspired with the 2 boatmen, saying, "My master's trunk contains 100 taels of silver and many other valuable items. If you 2 kill him, we can split the loot among the 3 of us." The boatmen, Chen and Wang, laughed and said, "Even if you hadn't suggested it, we already had the same idea." That night, Tianxiu and the page slept in the front cabin while Dong slept in the rear cabin. Around midnight, Dong shouted, "Thief!" Tianxiu woke up from his dream and poked his head out of the cabin to check, only to be struck down by Chen with a knife and pushed into the river. The page, terrified and trying to escape, was knocked into the water by Wang with a stick. After dealing with them, the 3 thieves opened Tianxiu's trunk, took the silver, and divided it among themselves. Chen and Wang then rowed the boat back, while Dong took the stolen goods to Suzhou. Fortunately, the page, although unconscious, was not dead. He was awakened by the water and swam to the shore, where he sat and cried loudly. At dawn, an old fisherman on an upstream fishing boat heard someone crying on the shore. He rowed over to investigate and found a 7 or 8-year-old boy, soaked and crying on the shore. The old fisherman asked why he was there, and the page tearfully recounted the robbery from the previous night. The fisherman took him on board, rowed him home, and gave him clean clothes to wear. The old fisherman asked, "Your master is dead. Do you want to return to his home or stay here with me?" The page replied, "My master was murdered, and his body is missing. How can I return alone? I would like to stay here with you." The old fisherman said, "It's good for you to stay. I can slowly gather information about the robbers, and we can decide what to do then." The page was very grateful and thanked the old fisherman, then stayed at his home. On the night of the incident, Tianxiu's body was washed into a reed bed by the current. Across the river was Qinghe County, and on the riverbank stood the Zihui Temple. The next day, on the 15th of March, the monks of the temple, as per their custom, went to the river to release water lanterns for blessings. Suddenly, one of the monks saw Tianxiu's body, with blood all over his face and still wearing his sleeping pants. The monks discussed among themselves, saying, "This must be a merchant who was robbed." The thieves killed him and threw his body into the river, which then drifted here. An old monk said, "As monks, we should be compassionate and bury the body, which can be considered a good deed." The monks agreed, retrieved the body, buried it, and then returned after releasing the water lanterns. At that time, Bao Gong, who had been in Haozhou for disaster relief, was on his way back to Dongjing and happened to arrive in Qinghe County. As they arrived, Bao Gong saw a strange whirlwind with what seemed like someone wailing within it. Curious, Bao Gong sent the constable Zhang Long to follow the whirlwind and investigate. Zhang Long obeyed and followed the whirlwind to the riverbank, where it suddenly stopped. Zhang Long reported this strange event to Bao Gong, who then ordered a temporary stay in Qinghe County. The next day, Bao Gong tasked the local county officials with sending yamen runners to the riverbank to investigate. They discovered a nameless solitary grave. Upon digging it up, they found a body with a clear knife wound on the neck, indicating it had been recently murdered. County Magistrate Zhou inspected the body and asked, "Are there any nearby residences?" A yamen runner replied, "There is the Zihui Temple, where several monks reside." The magistrate ordered the monks to be brought to the yamen for questioning. The monks said, "A few days ago, we went to the river to release water lanterns and saw a dead body floating near the shore. The old monk couldn't bear to leave the body exposed, so he instructed us to bury it. But we don't know who this person was or why he died." The magistrate said, "Your testimony is not credible. I believe you are the ones who murdered this person, and now you are lying in the yamen." He then ordered the yamen runners to imprison the monks and reported the case to Bao Gong. Bao Gong was not satisfied with the magistrate's judgment and interrogated the monks again. The monks naturally responded truthfully and pleaded their innocence. Bao Gong had his doubts, thinking, if these monks had indeed committed the murder, why would they bury the body by the riverbank and even erect a nameless tombstone? That would be too obvious and easily discovered. It seems there is more to this case, and the monks are likely innocent. They should be released. So, Bao Gong released the monks and decided to stay in the county to continue investigating the case. At the end of the 4th lunar month, when the lotus flowers were in full bloom, local ladies had a custom of enjoying the flowers by taking boat rides. One day, while the page and the old fisherman were selling fish at the river mouth, they happened to encounter Chen and Wang, the two boatmen, who were admiring the flowers and drinking on their boat and had come to buy fish from the fisherman. The page immediately recognized them as the murderers of his master and quietly informed the old fisherman. The old fisherman said, "It seems that your master's case might be resolved now. Bao Gong is currently handling unresolved cases in Qinghe County. You should report this matter to him immediately." Following his advice, the page hurried ashore and went directly to the Qinghe County Yamen. Upon meeting Bao Gong, the page tearfully recounted the murder of his master by the boatman and mentioned that he had seen the robbers drinking on a nearby boat that day. Bao Gong immediately dispatched constables Li and Huang to follow the page to the river mouth and apprehend Chen and Wang. Bao Gong also instructed the page to identify the body. The page confirmed, crying, "This is indeed my master. I saw him being murdered by these two robbers with my own eyes." Bao Gong then ordered the yamen runners to torture the two boatmen with severe punishment. Chen and Wang, already frightened by the sight of the page and fearing that he had returned from the dead, confessed to everything under the unbearable torture. Bao Gong had the two boatmen chained and imprisoned. The next day, Bao Gong brought the robbers to court, had them point out where they had hidden the stolen silver, and then executed them by decapitation at the execution ground. However, Dong's whereabouts remained unknown, and Bao Gong was unable to find him. Bao Gong returned the stolen silver, arranged for a coffin for Tianqiu, and instructed the page to take it back to their hometown for burial. The page also expressed his gratitude to the old fisherman for his help before returning to Yangzhou. Later, Tianqiu's son, Jiang Shiqing, became an excellent scholar and eventually an official. Dong, having used the stolen money to become a wealthy merchant, met his end when he was robbed on the Yangtze River. Perhaps this was the divine punishment he deserved. Alright. Today's case story, Old Fisherman at the Port, concludes here. If you enjoyed it, please like and subscribe. Feel free to leave your comments and share with others. See you again in the next issue.